Today, we're diving into a short book from over 100 years ago that packs a punch with one single, potentially life-changing idea. You are what you think. Seriously. It's called As a Man Thinketh by James Allen, and its core message is that your thoughts literally build the world around you. Let's dig in and see what he means. So let's kick things off with a big question, one that really gets to the heart of everything. Do you feel like you're in the driver's seat of your own life, steering the ship? Or does it sometimes feel like you're just along for the ride, getting bounced around by whatever happens? Well, James Allen's answer to that question is pretty radical. He basically says we are never just passengers. Instead, he puts all the power and, all the responsibility squarely on our shoulders. He's saying that we are, in every single way, the creators of our own lives. All right, so how on earth does that work? The first big idea we have to grasp is that thought comes first. Allen says your mind is the master force, the thing that shapes everything else that follows. The opening of the book just lays it all out there, doesn't it? The idea isn't just that your thoughts happen inside your world, it's that your thoughts actively create your world. Your environment, your circumstances, everything you see out there. It's just a looking glass, a mirror reflecting what's going on in here, in your mind. And he really doubles down on this. He says we are, quite literally, the sum total of all of our thoughts. Think about that. Your character isn't something fixed or random. Nope, it's something you've built, one thought at a time, from the inside out. Now, to make this idea, which can feel a little abstract, really tangible, Allen gives us this one simple, powerful metaphor that he uses throughout the whole book, the mind as a garden. And this is so key. A garden is never truly empty, right? It will always produce something. If you don't plant flowers, weeds will just show up on their own. And our minds are exactly the same. So the real question isn't if your mind garden is growing, but what it's growing. And this lays out the choice we all face perfectly. If we don't consciously plant useful seeds, positive, helpful thoughts, then all these useless weed seeds of doubt, fear, and negativity are going to take root all by themselves and just keep spreading. The other option? We can become active gardeners. We can pull the weeds and intentionally grow what we want to see. Okay, so if our thoughts are the seeds, what are the plants they grow into? Well, according to Allen, they grow into the very fabric of our character. Allen shows us how this works step by step. It all starts with that hidden little seed, a thought. That thought, if you tend to it, eventually blossoms into an action, and our actions produce the fruits of our experience, whether that's joy or suffering. So, in a very real way, we end up eating the fruit from the seeds we planted in our own minds. Wow, that is such a powerful way to put it. Our mind is an armory, a workshop. And in that workshop, we are either forging the tools to build an incredible life, or we're forging the weapons of our own self-destruction. And the choice, he says again and again, is entirely up to us. Okay, so thoughts shape our character. I get that. But how do they shape our actual external life? Our jobs, our health, our relationships? Well, this is where the inner garden starts to reflect in the outer world. Now, this is a really crucial point. We all tend to blame our circumstances for our problems, right? But Allen just flips that on its head. He says our circumstances aren't the cause of who we are, they're the effect. They're just a mirror, revealing the kinds of thoughts we've been growing all along. So let's trace how this works. Say you consistently plant these mental seeds of fear and doubt. Well, they're going to sprout into habits of hesitating, of weakness, and the final harvest you reap from that kind of garden. It's a life filled with failure, dependence, and that awful feeling of being trapped. But, and this is the exciting part, look at the total opposite. If you plant seeds of courage and self-reliance, you start to grow these habits of taking action, of being energetic, and the result? A life that's characterized by success, abundance, and true freedom. The process is exactly the same. The only thing that's changed is the seed you started with. And that leads to this huge point. Life doesn't give us what we merely want or wish for. It gives us what we are. Our circumstances will, sooner or later, always line up with the true nature of our character, which, remember, is built out of our thoughts. Now, just having positive thoughts isn't quite enough. Scattered thoughts, even if they're good ones, are pretty weak. For them to become truly powerful, they need a direction. They need a purpose. So let's think about the alternative for a second. What happens if our thoughts are just there? A random, scattered mess without any central goal. Alan doesn't pull any punches here. He calls this aimlessness a vice. Without a clear purpose, our mind is like a ship with no rudder. It's just left to drift on the ocean of life, getting tossed around by every wave of worry and fear, and eventually it's headed for disaster. So how do we grab the wheel and start steering? Well, first, you have to find a worthy purpose. Then, you make that purpose the sun in your mental solar system. Everything revolves around it. You have to actively, rigorously push out the weeds of doubt and fear. Because when you combine a focused thought with a fearless purpose, it becomes an unstoppable creative force. And all of this leads us to the book's final, most empowering conclusion. We can, and we absolutely must, become the conscious masters of our own inner world. See, Alan's point is that we are always the master, even when things are terrible. The only question is, what kind of master are we going to be? Are we the foolish master who lets the household of their mind fall into total chaos? Or are we the wise master who takes the time to understand the laws of thought and directs their energy with real intention? And that right there is the ultimate goal, to become the master gardener of your soul. This doesn't just happen by accident. It happens through practice and self-analysis. By really truly understanding how your thoughts create your reality, you can finally take control and become the conscious director of your own life. The path to getting there rests on these 3 pillars. First is self-control. That's your foundational strength. Second is what he calls right thought, which is true mastery over where you place your focus. And finally, calmness, which he says is the ultimate expression of power. It's that ability to look at any storm and say to your own heart, "Peace, be still." So, as we wrap this up, the entire philosophy of As a Man Thinketh really boils down to this one simple but profound question for you to take with you. If your mind really is a garden, and you are the only gardener, what are you going to choose to plant today?